Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Rides with the Richies.
Hola.
It's October 20th at 1:09 p.m. We got special guests with us today.
Yes, we're very excited. The Fagerlands.
Seth and Marcella.
Yes.
Hey.
We're going to let you guys introduce yourselves very soon. But before we do, can you tell everybody what we just got done doing?
Is this a story for the
What
masses?
if we don't want our moms to know?
Oh, well. Mom, just plug your ears.
We just paid the deposit for tattoos here in Costa Rica.
True. Yes, it is true. It probably looked like a drug deal from outside, but it was not. It was...
We're just completing a homework assignment, so it's
Right.
Yeah.
just following the school rules.
We used our Spanish.
Yes.
We did use our Spanish.
We did. Yeah, we did use it. So, Brian...
We said goodbye in muchos different ways.
Yeah, we said, yeah. So Brian, Seth, Marcella, another couple, Josh and Rachel. Hi, Josh and Rachel. They are all getting tattoos from this guy that was recommended by one of our friends, Valeria. And he does tattoos out of his house. And
Guess I gotta stop.
we just got done paying them. I guess here in Costa Rica, you have to pay before half, and then when you get the tattoo, you pay for the other half. And so I didn't ask, I mean, you guys don't have to say how much it was, but it's a little bit cheaper here, right, than the
Yes.
States by a lot.
Yeah. Quite a bit.
By a lot.
Okay. Because Brian's
One
was
thing
still...
that's cheaper here.
Well, Brian's going to get one on his leg, on his calf, and so it was a little bit more than motorcycle, more than we thought it was going to be, but it'll work. So, okay, so Seth and Marcella, give us a little intro, who you guys are, no, where you're from, where you guys are going. And there was a third one that I can't remember. Just start us off there.
Fantastic. Yes, Seth and Marcella Fagerland. We came from Minnesota in the Estados Unidos. But yeah, we are here at Ile, studying for 1 year. But we are missionaries with Word of Life, and we will be serving in Panama. And want to tell us about our family?
Yeah, we have 2 kids. We have a son, Benaiah, he's 13, and a daughter who is 10. Her name's Maya.
They're super fun kids, by the way.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Really good kids.
So we've been here about a month and a half, and the Richies were the first couple we met here, along with another set from our school from day one. So,
Yeah, we got to our house and they were at our gate.
Yeah, the
Fantastic.
welcoming
Welcome
committee.
Welcome
Yeah.
crew.
That's
right.
our spiritual gift. Welcoming.
Very welcoming.
And and brownies.
Yes.
Yes.
For sure.
Welcoming with
I
brownies.
think they were cookies and cream. They were amazing.
Yeah. And tell us what you did before. That was the question I remember. It was what you guys did before back in the States.
Yes, I was a youth pastor, student and teaching pastor at a church in Minnesota for the last 9 years, and then been doing student ministry for a long time. And Marcella was in missions as well.
So I served with our denomination's child sponsorship program called Global Fingerprints, and I served as a part-time stateside missionary and worked at our headquarters.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The headquarters of the
EFCA.
Of the
EFCA,
sponsor.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What did that look like exactly?
Oh, that's cool.
So I did a lot of paperwork and materials, and a lot of communication with any churches that were interested in sponsoring or hosting an event to help sponsor kids through their people in their community and their congregation. So one of the events that I was in charge of is called Orphan Sunday, which was not started by EFCA, was started by CAFO. And it's a Sunday that a lot of churches participate in serving and praying for the widows and the orphans of the world. So my job was to call up, our 2,000 plus EFCA churches in the United States and ask them if they would partner with us one Sunday a year and help us, get as many kids off of our waiting list to be sponsored through our program. So a lot of phone calls.
They have,
Yeah.
they have locations in 11 countries around the world.
Yep,
I think
13
you've got up to
countries.
5,000-6,000 kids,
Yep.
something like that.
Wow.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
can we link it to the video?
Ooh, maybe.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Shout out to
Yes,
the
global fingerprints.
Global
Yeah.
fingerprints.
Marcella is still spreading the word wherever
yes,
she's going.
yes. Even though I'm not working there anymore, I would still tell everyone about it if you want to sponsor kids in need and keep them with their families, because that's the difference with global fingerprints is
That's really
we want to
cool.
keep family units together. So.
Yeah, that's important. That reminds me. So our church did like a sponsorship too, and one year we stole the idea from, I think it was World Vision or Compassion,
Okay.
but they flipped the script where instead of, like at a church, they have like after the service all these pictures of these kids that need sponsorships, and then all the families go with their kids and they kind of look through and they get to pick which one. Well, one year we did something where we were like promoting the sponsorship weekend, and if you want to sponsor a child, like sign up in the forum. And what we did was we had like a backdrop and we took a picture of the families that wanted to adopt, and then we got them printed, and then we sent somebody to the country. So we have a sponsorship with just Haiti, so it's not like all over the world or anything, but just one country. And we sent our videographer guy and like a leader or two, and they went and they laid out on like a little table or whatever all the pictures of the families. And then the little kids got brought in, and they get
got
to
pick a family.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of
I
cool.
love that.
and then they like had a picture holding the family that they picked, and then they took photos, and then they brought them back. So it's like a process, right?
Yeah.
But I
It's
just
a cool
thought
switch.
I thought that too, just like to have the
That's
what's
really
the
cool
word
to have kids
to
involved.
to have them
More
be able to
personal,
choose.
relational connection.
Yeah, and have them be able to choose for themselves, and like putting kind of the power in their own hands. So anyways, I think that was really cool.
I think
Okay.
it'd be kind of fun for you guys to talk about, though,
Yeah.
your journey to moving here as a family. Like,
Sure.
most people who are going to watch this know us moving here as a couple,
Yeah.
but moving as a family, it'd be fun for you guys to talk about selling your house, saying goodbye to your rooms, and that whole journey
How did
as
that
a
go with
family.
your kids?
How your kids doing with it? How did they do?
No, it's a great question, and actually, it connected to ultimately our call to missions is Marcel and I, in our hearts, we were convinced that we were going to do missions later in life. We thought that we still had a whole season of raising our kids in the States, because I think we had convinced ourselves that our kids had to be raised in the States for them to be okay. And when God was tugging on our hearts as far as the timing of not later but now, he had to do a very special work in our hearts that he actually made our kids for this as well, and that they are uniquely wired to be part of this. So that was part of our whole journey as well, of surrendering as a family, saying that we're going to do this together. But it was a process, and it was a long process.
Yes, and my parents were missionaries in their early years of marriage. So my younger sister and I were actually adopted while they were in their mission field in Colombia. And so I've had a little bit of a taste of what is it like to move and be in different cultures and, have these transitional moments. So I wasn't afraid of doing that with our kids. We also just saw a very small window where you can do it really, really well. With Benaiah transitioning to being a 13-year-old, this is when they're kind of putting their feet in the ground and buckling their legs with like the things that they want to be involved in, the friends they want to have. And so to uproot them right before that could have been tricky, but I think God just had grace on us and our timing of it. And we have two really awesome kids who we pour a lot into, and we bring them into the conversation. We enjoy having all these teachable moments together, like to show that Seth and I also too are learning to hear God's voice and obeying it, and what does that look like. And it sometimes means selling our house and moving and trusting God. And so I think something that Seth and I did really well, not to brag on ourselves, but we asked a lot of questions from people who have done this with kids. And we took their advice to heart. So we molded it to fit Benaiah and Maya because they are different kids. And I do think that our 2-year launch and having that conversation, and it was an open conversation with our kids, we see our kids go from fearing, what does it mean that we're selling our house? Where are we going to be then? What does that look like? To them coming to a place where this is what it looks like. The best thing we can do is be obedient with what the Lord's asked us and trust that it is the best for us. And set aside feelings, still process them. Again, we got a 2-year window that we were praying about this, talking to our kids about it. You know, we didn't just in 30 days pick up, sell everything we own and, you know, obey the voice, you know,
like a little more traumatized.
Yeah, that would have been really difficult. But I do think that we've had a lot of people that we've been able to ask a lot of questions and kind of formulate what worked with Maya and Benaiah, and they too are also on a journey. We want them to hear God's voice in their life, and we don't know what's going to happen, you know, what their future looks like. But I think we're kind of proud that we got to be students of what that looks like with our kids.
And the Lord was very kind in our journey of raising support, where he brought several individuals who were talking to us, but then like directly connected to our kids and asked them how old they were and everything, and to say, I was your age when God called my family to be missionaries. So there was about 3 different moments where God is very, and he didn't have to do that, but God was very kind to our kids' hearts of acknowledging that, hey, you're a part of this, God is calling you as well, but also acknowledging this is going to be hard, there's going to be changes. So not rose-colored glasses, but to really set up a reality for it. So that was significant. But also we as we look backwards, processing the whole journey, we realized that God had been preparing us all along for this. I mean, our kids, they had their rootedness was in our family, not necessarily in a physical space. And we've brought them on adventures with us before. They've traveled before, and even their sense of home was wherever our family was. And so, yes, our kids can still miss where we came from and miss family, and that is a reality. But then for them to know, like, hey, wherever our family is, that's where our home is.
I
gotta say too, Melissa and we compliment a lot on your guys' parenting and admire your guys' parenting.
Yes,
and your kids show, like, you have great kids and they're super fun to be around.
Yeah, well, I think too, just your guys' intentionality. You had mentioned something earlier, like when we first went out to eat together, how you try to make sure you guys are creating moments for your kids. So like was it 3 or I don't know, like big milestones in their ages, like you guys are going to take vacations with them. And also just like in general, like I've been told so many times that kids are some of the best missionaries, like, because they are not afraid to, like, well, don't talk to strangers, but like, you know what I mean? Like, and I love the fact that you guys included them in it, because when it's parents feeling called or a couple feeling called, even when you're like fundraising or sharing with other people, it's always like we, but it's like you guys are like, no, us. And like that should be talked about more. I feel like that's not like really talked about that much. And
we're being intentional here in Costa Rica, because yes, learning a language is very hard. And doing school in another language is very hard. But we've tried to even frame this whole season as an adventure, and that we're doing this as a family. And so adventures have hard moments, but also they have really cool moments. You get to that place, also you're like, oh man, isn't this great that we're trying to be intentional, even use that language of, guys, look at it, look what we're doing, look where we are. And because it again, not rose-colored glasses, but for them to say, oh, this is an adventure and we're on this together, and it's a one day at a time. Like the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and for them to know, and this isn't a forever here in this chapter, but this is one chapter in the bigger story that we're living as a family.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
For sure. And then I want to hear too, Marcella kind of has a really cool story. So I want you to share a little bit, just like, because you had mentioned your dad was in missions. And so, by the way, they also have a podcast, so you can listen to their podcast.
We'll link all their info.
That's right.
So you guys can follow them as well.
The Fagerlands to Panama. There you go.
Yeah. Fagerlands to Panama?
Well, T.O.
We'll link it.
Okay.
We'll link it in the description.
To Panama. But I had heard a podcast because her dad was in missions and really has lived, like, I feel like in all continents of the world, but is really well knowledgeable in missions. But tell us a little bit about how you grew up, and you moved back to the States. And did you come here with Spanish and all those things?
Yeah, no, so I was adopted at around, it's between 4 and 5. So I would say between 4 and 4.5. But I was kind of in a foster care kind of situation. I mean, I can't say it's foster care because that's like American language.
It wasn't official.
Yeah.
But my adopted parents, Steve and Lisa, were missionaries in Colombia, in the city of Bogota, and they had a team. And part of the mission of their team was to disciple and meet homeless people, because there's a huge street ministry that's available. There's so many people on the streets for so many different reasons, and a lot of it is just poverty and, you know, the knowledge that they don't have. And so they had a bigger picture and vision of what that looked like. But how I came into orbit their story was my biological parents were drug addicts on the streets of Colombia.
Colombia, okay.
Mm-hmm. And my biological mom's my biological mom's mother, so my biological grandmother, got a phone call from my oldest biological sibling that had said that me and my younger sister, Andrea, and our 5 other siblings were kind of deserted by our parents, so kind of abandoned. So this happens a lot where parents go on drug bins and their kids are just kind of somewhere. But because my younger sister was so much younger, she was just, you know, a year and a half maybe, and I was about 2.5. It's really dangerous for a baby to go without food for more than a day, 2 days. Well, on the 3rd day, my oldest sister, who was 13 years old, had to make a call and ask for help. So she ended up calling my grandmother, who had heard about these missionaries that were working with street people. And so she, you know, helped get the kids and then took us to the missionaries and was like, here's the situation, and we hear you help people on the streets, so here's 7 kids. So you know, there's a lot more to that story. But in the meantime, the missionaries were like, okay, well, clearly these kids need a place to stay. So they divvied us up, and my younger sister Andrea and I end up with Steve and Lisa Bickler. And so as time goes on, they find our parents, introduce them to the program of what does it look like to be discipled, to be given a chance to get clean, to have a job, to have almost like the support and the grace to get clean and be people again. So their ministry was not to, you know, take kids off the street and adopt them and raise them. You know, that was not the vision at all. But as things went on, technically my biological parents were the first to fail the program, because eventually our mom just kind of disappeared, went back into drugs, and it's very, very hard for couples to get clean together because there's always one that's weaker than the other, you know. So long story short, the missionaries then are with this problem of like, we have these kids and we can't in good conscience give them back to the parents. Like, you know, they're just gonna end up being abandoned again. You know, my younger sister and I, our physical bodies did not reflect our age, because that's how malnourished we were. And we had never had like a reliable place to stay. We never had a reliable like meal source, like 3 times a day, you know. So when we were living with, you know, being fostered by the Micklers, you know, we had grown to need them and love them. Like they were our parents. They taught us what it meant to be safe and to be in a home. So then, that left a huge unopened question of like, what do we do when the parents leave and there's kids involved? So long story short, we were still with the missionary couple for about 2 years. And so again, we became their family. They became our family. And so when Stephen and Lisa felt God was calling them out of Colombia, they were then really convicted that they couldn't just leave us. And so they presented to the team, you know, should we adopt them? Again, that caused some controversy because that was not the point of this ministry, was to adopt kids, vulnerable kids. That was not part of the big vision. But it was a real issue now at hand. And yeah, Steve Mickler really felt like God was saying, these are your kids, like you need to fight for them. So long story short, we get adopted. Our adoption is very unique because being the reason that we got to be with the Micklers, my dad promised our biological family that he wouldn't take us from them, but that he would raise us as his daughters, but that we always had the knowledge and the freedom to come back if we wanted. You know, once, you know, it was never a secret that we were from Colombia. It was never a secret where we came from and our parents' story. And so, yeah, so we kind of grew up far away from our culture and our family.
So when did you move back to the States?
So we then got adopted. The adoption took about 1.5 years. And as soon as they got legal papers with us, we were brought back to the States. So, but again, between 4.5 and 5 is when I remember coming to the States.
That's right.
My first airplane ride. And I did only speak Spanish. But it probably wasn't even good Spanish, you know.
Yeah.
Being raised on the streets, you know, it was probably nothing proper. And I do remember being in an English school that didn't allow you to speak Spanish. So I do remember there being punishment for speaking Spanish, or even just being harsh, you know, like, no, you can't talk. No, only in English. And so Steve and Lisa already had their 2 biological kids, Adrian and Drew. And when they decided to adopt Andrea and I, they found out they were pregnant with their 3rd son, Sam. So the 3 of us were kind of like triplets. Like Dre and I were underdeveloped and, you know, a situation. Yeah. And then they had their son as well. So we all grew up really close in age. So it was 5 kids all under the age of 6. You know, so my mom had her hands full.
Pobrecita.
Yes. And their 2 oldest and I spoke Spanish, and still to this day, Steve and Lisa speak fluent Spanish. Wow. I mean, you would think they're ticos. Like, my dad's not afraid to show his Spanish. And he actually went to the same school that we are all attending 40 years ago.
40 years ago.
That's so crazy.
With Lisa, and at that time, my older sister and brother were just babies. So, just infants. So yeah, by the time we moved to California, learning English, you know, not in any proper way, just thrown into the English world. Things get fuzzy for a little while because then I can understand some Spanish, and I've always enjoyed Spanish, but I've never threw myself back into knowing it fluently. Yeah. And I think I was under the assumption that someday it would just happen. You know? Just like we just happened to learn a language. Yep. Yeah. Our first language. But every time I tried to get involved into Spanish things, something always detoured me somewhere else. And so I really am thankful for this season, because I've wanted to raise our kids bilingual, but that would also mean we would need to know Spanish. And then it's like, by the time you have kids, it's like the last thing you have time for is to learn a language. So long story short, I used to know Spanish. It's somewhere in there. Pray for, I don't know, the brain to unlock and for me to just wake up one day with it.
It'll
that
come
would
back.
Be great. But if not, I will be submissive to the poco steps of Spanish.
So we're like 2 or 3 minutes away.
All right.
What is life going to look like in Panama for you guys in 2 or 3 minutes?
Great question. Well, with that, we are joining a pretty large Word of Life team. We make it, I think, over 40 full and part-time missionaries. And a big part of our role is actually, in a way, ambassadors for the ministry to connections in the States. So a lot of what we'll be doing is facilitating groups and teams and churches who will come down and partner with the ministry. So we believe strongly in healthy short-term mission trip partnerships and facilitating those. It is both a relational bridge for the gospel in those communities where God has called those national ministries, but it's also a transforming effect of bridging that relationship back to the local context of that church and people living on mission for the kingdom of God. So it's a big part of what we'll be doing, as well as leaning into this. The ministry is a fairly new discipleship training school for young adults. It's the next generation of missionaries and ministry leaders.
So awesome.
And we will be supporting that, both the national young people, but then they have a cross-cultural internship program, which is college-age American students who are feeling called to missions or ministry and in a Latin context, and can come down, go through the same discipleship training program, take language classes, but then also be finishing their college degree at the same time, and we will be directly overseeing those American college students as well. So after 22 years of student ministry, we are now leaning into college-age ministry and church relations in many ways.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, that's so great. Young adults on the mission field.
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah.
I'm excited to keep up with you guys and
Yes.
see
Yeah.
where how
You
this all
guys
pans
too.
out.
Yeah.
You're gonna be our runaway spot. We're gonna come to Costa
Yeah.
Rica. So
Well,
Visa runs.
Visa runs.
One day, a Rides with the Richies in Panama.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Coming to you soon.
Coming to you
That's
someday.
right.
Someday. Soon in Jesus time.
See.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys want to know more about them, we're gonna link their podcast. We'll link whatever socials they want us to link,
Yeah.
and you guys can follow them and
Yeah, it's
like all their
exciting.
stuff.
That's right.
And we usually end with a Bible verse. I forgot to tell you guys that, Marcella and Seth. Just whatever Bible verse that God has been speaking to you lately. Sometimes I don't have it, so if it's, I mean, we could read Deuteronomy, but we just like to end with a Bible verse. And
Alright.
Brian has my phone because we're videoing, and Brian has direction.
It is okay.
So
I
Seth
got it.
has a
I got
lot
it.
of verses
You
memorized.
you
We
have
got
one?
this.
Okay.
You want one or do you want two?
Let's
Whatever-
do whatever you
whatever's
feel.
on your
Just
heart.
something that you want to share to close us off.
I'll use one that the Lord used a lot in the process of us coming down here. It's the end of John 20, verse 31. And Jesus said, it says, "These things are written that you may know that Jesus is the Christ, and that you may have life by believing in his name." So John 20:31.
John 20:31.
There you go.
Great.
Amen.
Amen. We hope that is encouraging to you guys. We hope that their story was encouraging to you guys. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. 27 minutes.
I think that was the best timing we've ever had as far as like
I know.
pulling in the parking lot and finishing.
Yes,
Thanks for
perfect.
having us. That's
Yeah,
great.
thank you for supporting the Richies.
Yes, thank you
Yep.
guys.
Go check out them.
Love you guys.
See
Pura
ya.
Pura vida.